Burgess and Bolton's weekly wrap-up.
Hello, Ben.
Hello, Jeremy. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday indeed. Are you well?
Very well. God, Christmas feels not far off.
I know. And it's the start of summer, but more of that in a minute. Hello and welcome to Burgess and Bolton's weekly wrap-up, where we look at everything to do with the London market, technology, change, innovation, talent. And this week we have got some news stories, and we're going to reflect on some of the stories of last week, which some of you might have reacted to on LinkedIn. But anyway, let's get on to that. Let's start with the news. So, given it's lunchtime, Ben, pretty sad news on the sandwich shop front.
Yeah, it's the changing face of the city, and hot on the heels of Simpsons and a campaign to try and keep it open. Earls, which has closed, which was on LinkedIn. I noticed it, and it's really sad actually overall, because these are the sort of places that you and I frequented pre-pandemic and for years, and they all, we were saying before the show, weren't we? They become little special places, part of your working life. Now, I used to have an office next door in Lime Street, to just behind Earls or in front of Earls, and I didn't actually go to Earls really particularly, but there was always a big queue outside. I went to the one just down the road. My preferred sandwich shop of choice was Claudio's, which did a great bacon sandwich in the morning, and great salt beef bagels. So that's also closed, sadly. So that little Cullum Street cut through, which lots of people will know, is a little symbol really of where we are today. And there was another one called Temples, which was the sort of cheap and cheerful version of Earls and Claudio's, where you could get a corned beef roll with Branston pickle and packet of Walker's crisps. There it is, Temples. Not a very good photo, sorry, Temples, but gone anyway. So
yeah, bye.
Fresh sandwiches, I used to like that, as opposed to stale, crispy sandwiches. But it was, that was so basic, Temples. But it was quick, easy, cheap, and I used to go in there quite a bit as a juxtaposition of Claudio's and Earls. Earls to me was a little bit high on the calorie side. I could just read you off a few.
Yeah, please. I'll get hungry.
Get you really going. So I'm going to choose. Simple one was their roast chicken spicy roast chicken melted cheddar, red onions, jalapeno peppers, baby spinach, and barbecue sauce.
Nice.
These are on ciabatta. Sweet chili Milanese, breaded chicken breast escalope, melted mozzarella, spring onions, salad, and sweet chili sauce. Who needs the salad, I say?
Yeah.
And so it goes. They are good. I now wish I'm having regret for not going there when it was open, because of some of the things there. Because their website sadly is still up. There's a picture on here of a sandwich which I can't even show it here. It's like pornography. It's got sliced sausage, crispy bacon, slice of cheddar cheese, stuffing, obviously some kind of turkey stuffing, ham, which must be turkey, on a spinach bed. It must be their Christmas special, I think.
Yeah.
But it doesn't say. But oh my God. I mean, it just all looks great. And oh God, there's just one here, which please go to the website if anybody's listening to this and is interested, because there's a picture here of a bat with sausage and a fried egg that's just dripping yolk out of it, and it's a work of art, but it's also food pornography. Anyway, how the hell did they go bust? I don't know, because it looks brilliant.
Yeah. How did they go bust? Probably the energy prices, isn't it? And all that staffing, I suppose, and all that stuff. But
it's
I think
horrible.
You're right. It's kind of changing the face of the kind of the work environment around EC3, and it's a real shame. I think you were saying on the positive side, though, there are establishments that are booming. I think the pubs and bars seem to be doing okay.
Yeah,
don't they?
they do. I mean, it's interesting, really, how some things change, some things don't. I mean, I was in Leadenhall yesterday, and as everybody knows, it wasn't a particularly nice day. It wasn't awful by the afternoon, but it was absolutely packed in Leadenhall. The Lamb was just heaving, and everywhere else seemed to be very busy. So that's good in Leadenhall. They were not tourists. They were brokers and underwriters and people from the market. So that's good. Some things are doing all right. It's a shame though if you miss all these, if you like, kind of lower cost places. I think that's what seemed to be losing, and then we're ending up just with chains, which is a shame. Because it does look like that as well when you walk around, doesn't it? You can see all the shuttered up shops, that the little linking places that you used to be able to go to, and now everything's like a bit of a sort of destination. I've got to go there or there. There's nothing. You just go, I'll pop in there and have a sausage, mushroom, egg, ciabatta.
Yeah.
My God, I'm looking at this picture here. It's honestly, I might go and cook one after that. It's just ridiculous. Too long to wait till my dinner tonight.
So we need to put it out to the tribe, don't we? We need to. Where's your favourite?
Burgess and Bolton's. Where's your favourite? We'll put it on LinkedIn after this. Shall we do it as a nice campaign? And I'm gonna, we'll issue condolences to poor old Earls.
Yeah, we'll do that. And I was just recalling, we were talking before this about our favourite sandwich shops, and you've already spoken about yours, but there was one above our office. This was in Great Portland Street, and it was hilarious because it was a galley. It was literally, you could get 2 people width. That was the size of the shop. And you'd queue up and you go in and you give the order. So something like, I'll have a chicken salad on brown bread with mayonnaise. And you go, okay, great. So that's a chicken on white. You go, no. That's chicken on brown salad mayonnaise. Okay, great. Do you want salad with that? It's like, and know everything about it. Every single day you got wrong. It was hilarious. It became a running joke. So it's like, you might as well let it do what it wants.
The thing is that they've all got their little quirks like that. It's right. And then the other thing is you'd meet people in, and you'd get a real sense of, the kind of community and people at work. They're all, there's lots of different places. There's some I used to go up around in Moorgate. There's a little coffee shop there where the guy was incredibly rude, but he did great coffee and great cakes, and he wouldn't have any Wi-Fi in his shop because he didn't agree with that sort of thing. So he said you should have a conversation, not go on your phone. But that's what London is about in lots of ways, and we mentioned it's like that in New York still in some places. Well, we haven't been there for a while, but they're part of the fabric of the social fabric of working environments, and it's so sad to see them going. It really is, but we'll do our best to encourage people not to go to the Pret. I mean, I like Pret, but I think let's encourage people to go and support their local cafe or whatever we call them. Eatery, and to say who the best one is. Recommendations.
Definitely. Right. Let's move on because I am getting very hungry. So, Ben, you wanted to talk about Zurich, and we don't often talk about numbers on this show, but you are this week.
Well, I am. I don't like much, and neither of us like it, is this constant drivel from chief execs talking about the latest number they're going to not hit or hit, and the rates and all that. It's very boring. Yeah. But what I picked this article out for because Zurich has really set out a different kind of narrative, which is they're saying very punctually, we are going to do so well profit-wise that any of our competitors will struggle to replicate or imitate it, which is, blimey, you don't hear that sort of thing very often in the market. They're normally rather sort of conservative and careful, but that's definitely, as you say, fighting talk. He's predicting record profitability for Zurich, mainly coming from personal, less so commercial, but both contributing, and a return on equity of over 20%, 23 to 25, which is big numbers for a carrier of the size of Zurich. So he's very confident, and maybe one might say overconfident, but let's see if Mr. Greco's numbers pan out. But I quite like it. I like the. So I think he needs a better photo. That's his stock photo. If he's going to do this sort of thing, he needs like a fist thumping one, doesn't he? A table thump.
That's it. In a kind of Bruce Willis Die Hard vest.
Something like that. Yeah, he needs to, not the sober blue suit there. Nice suit though. Nice suit, Italian, but
it's pretty. You're right. It is pretty punchy stuff. Given that everywhere, especially in the UK, the forecast is doom and gloom and cutbacks and things like that. So it'd be interesting to see how they do get on with the so-called headwinds.
It's a contrast, isn't it?
It's a big contrast. When I look back to what people were saying at TinTech a month ago, they were saying there is going to be a squeeze on there, and obviously this was a technology operations event. They said there was going to be a squeeze on their budgets, but they would still have budget to plow into digital. It does. So I've just run a survey, not quite got all the results in, and we have asked people whether their technology spend is going to go up, down, stay the same. Most people is going up by at least sort of 10%, but that's mainly in the just to keep up with inflation, I think. And people are investing in stuff. So I haven't yet seen that kind of a cutback in what you might call
no. I don't think you will either, Jeremy, because I think you'll get, because the quid pro quo, I think for a 10% increase would be a 15% decrease in cost somewhere potentially if they get the technology right. Not that really often turns out that way, but that's what I guess they're talking about. So it's interesting, yeah. Technology investment at the moment is drying up all around the place, but I think insurers will keep on going for it because the prize is potentially very good.
Yep, indeed. Right. Very good. Thanks, Ben. Right, let's get on to some of the stuff we talked about last week. So we were talking about talent in the market, and you put a stat up about the aging. Here we are. The aging population of or cohort of brokers in the last 5 years, and we got some reaction on LinkedIn, didn't we?
We got a lot of reaction. And I'm trying to remember whether I've ever put something up like that before. I probably have, but therefore didn't get a reaction. And I think my experience over the years is that we haven't had much of a reaction to either gender imbalances or aging groups of people. So this goes back to our piece last week in which we talked about the London Market Group's talent push, and the podcast with Mark Gagan's Voice of Insurance talking where Matthew Moore and Caroline Wagstaff talk about the talent challenge, and I think it comes down to the fact that, particularly what Matthew was saying, which is that there is a cost to this now, a structural impediment to the industry if you in London if you don't get this right, which is where the rubber hits the track, I think, on all of this, which is it's a shame that we're not ahead of that curve always in lots of ways. But I put then these numbers. I thought I'll have a little look at the numbers and that we've got, because I put some up last week, but they were quite raw. And this shows just it's just the broker cohort, similar for the underwriter. I don't want to show too many numbers, but what's really quite surprising and I can tell you is significant in numbers, statistical terms, is this, first of all, the rise of over 32% in the over 50s. So we don't really have the great resignation necessarily in London. We just have a rising number of older people. Now, arguably, you and I would say over 50 isn't that old, and we're both in that bracket ourselves. So we can be, I think it's not like these people are finished, and lots of people will be early 50s and some people will be, towards retirement age. But there's quite a range in our numbers, but up to 64. At the bottom end, though, you've got a drop as well. So you've got a drop, which was talked about, which is this, up to 24. You've got a drop. Sorry, you've got a drop in the 25 to 34, which has dropped off, and you've got quite a big drop in the 35 to 49. So one of the things I was pointing out was this gap here between the 35 to 49, which has dropped a lot. And so you've got an issue of succession coming through, because quite a lot of those over 50s will be retiring. So you will be losing experience in the market, but you won't have that much in terms of the 10 plus year people to go into those jobs. So there will be a crunch in the middle of the market as well, not just at the lower end, which is what the LMG was talking about. And I get why they want we need to get talent in at the younger end of things. But there's an argument here to say we also need talent. Where's this experienced talent going? And I wonder whether you need to do something to say retain more of those over 50s, something counterintuitive, and make sure they're somehow still in the market, even if they're doing just part-time or whatever. So we get this handover right of experience, because I know other industries like the oil industry about 10 to 15 years ago did this sort of early retirement thing, and it absolutely cratered their experience. And they actually had a lot of I don't know whether these are directly linked, but they had a lot of accidents, the BP accident and things like that. So a lot of things started to go wrong in that industry when they lost the experienced people, So I don't know that you're going to have, you might say that this is the risk at the moment as well, is that the quality is going to go, and therefore you've got to look at across the piece, I think.
Yeah, no, it's really interesting. It'd be really interesting to find out where those people have gone. If they've left the industry altogether, or if they've moved to consultancy within the industry, an underwriter, whatever.
Yeah, I think that it is interesting about that middle group as to whether they've been, I don't know, gone into insurtechs. They might have gone into, as you say, big consultancies that are doing more and more work. There is a big shift in the market, as we know, to using, for example, more external providers and outsourcing and using consultants. The stuff that we do aside from our main business, our consultancy, our content development, all of that is growing very rapidly. So there are different opportunities that aren't just in the mainstream core jobs in the market. So it may not be necessarily a bad thing. It may be a symptom of a change in the market, as well. So I think there is a lot of potential knowledge missing here as to what's going on. And I think that's generally true since the pandemic, that people aren't understanding, to say that it's really hard to know where have all the over 50s gone and the great resignation. But also there's a school of thought which is, it's not about resignation, as you say, it's about movement, it's about shifting careers, it's about adjacency, not just simply moving on within the same career. So I think there's a real argument to say we really need to understand this much more than we currently do, not just have a knee-jerk reaction, which is, insurance is boring, it's got all these things to do, which we know it has. There may be more fundamental things that make this more difficult, and if there is a structural challenge, then it will be that kind of understanding that will help this. I said one other thing as well, actually, that I think that we were talking largely, LMG and others have been talking about this sort of trade body stroke voluntary stroke groups that get set up for various reasons. I think there's a commercial play here, though, potentially as well, because if it's a cost issue and it's a commercial issue, then there ought to be ideas, entrepreneurial ideas, of how we can do this better. incentives for whoever it may be, consultants or whoever, to make sure that this happens. So I think there's a lot that could go on in this space. That and I have to say, I am talking to some people who are saying all this as well about the commercial angles. So it is interesting. Yeah, and we had a lot of reaction.
Yeah, we did. I snipped up a few of the comments. So there's your post, just describing exactly what you just said, really. And then, yeah, just a nice one from Lee, just kind of supporting you and just talking about thinking outside of our kind of way of doing things that we've done in the past, sort of graduate recruitment schemes and things like that. And our bugbear, kind of the 3-letter acronyms that are different names for the same thing in this industry, seems to be an eternal paternal problem.
I mean, I say it again. I think one of the worries I've got, I mean, this is a nice comment from Lee. The worry I have is you go too narrow in on this, and you look from within, and you do this whole mea culpa where insurance is terrible, we're all this and that and the other. And I'm sure that there are lots of other boring industries out there that aren't that good at doing this either, and they're probably having the same struggles. So I think it might be worth thinking about how do we look outside more into the wider social movements that are going on and things that are happening that actually might or might not impact our market at the moment. I think you could miss the whole thing if you don't do that.
Very interesting. Thanks for that, Ben. And you can find that post on LinkedIn if you want to read all the comments. There are quite a lot. Right. So another week, another article on cyber. So this one, guess what?
The gift that keeps giving is cyber.
Yeah.
Guess what? So rising cost. Great. We knew all that. I think what this is about is Lloyd's talking about. Well, it starts off actually talking about Lloyd's thinking they had a hack, but it wasn't a hack, which made me laugh. But they said if we did have a hack, they were covered. This is the start of this story. And anyway, the points I wanted to bring out here was not rising cyber prices, because we know that they're going up over 100% and everything else, and it's a bit chaotic as a market. But there's two things in this article. One is that it's pointing at big companies saying, right, it's no point in paying for all this cyber insurance. It's too expensive. We might as well use that money and try and mitigate the risk that someone hacks us from within or without. And someone in this article, I think from Marsh, says, yeah, that's not a bad plan. Then Lloyd's, John Neal in particular, is quoted as saying that the market's going to grow a lot. And then some other people talking about cyber's not just an insurance policy, it's about all the ancillary services you buy alongside it, et cetera, et cetera. So that's all well good. And then Lloyd's at the end then says, but the market, John Neal says the market is going to go from something like whatever it was, 4 billion or something at the moment, 6 billion, to 60 billion. And I'm just wondering about the number there, because we saw last week, we put up numbers about Howden showing how slow the growth was in the insurance market, and this is the big challenge to grow the business and grow the pie. Where does 60 billion number come from? At a general level, if you quote something like 60 billion, I think you should quote it in the context of a growing market, because otherwise it just stands alone as a number you throw out there, which is, I mean, if several markets or classes of business are growing from 4, if I got that right, to 60, that's a huge increase. I do stats, I can't even work that out. It's so many thousands of percent. And it's in billions, it's not in millions. It's massive. I would want to see the workings on that as to whether that's true, because if that's the case, the insurance market's a fantastic investment for the future, provided they don't get claims, of course. But it still seems odd. I don't know whether the industry loves to chuck big numbers out all the time. It's a thing. I think we need a bit more qualifying evidence for some of these numbers.
Yeah, I think you're right. There's definitely a tension in this article between as you were saying, kind of what what corporates are doing, how they're looking at it and perceiving the risk, and then allocating resources to manage it and mitigate it, as opposed to kind of as you're saying, those big numbers are put out there. I also think that cyber's such an evolving class of business that it's very difficult to right now kind of plot a course, see a vision for how the products and services around it are going to develop, because who knows what companies are going to develop. Who's going to be the next Apple, the next Tesla, and are they going to be built in are their operating and technology structures actually going to have much more kind of robust systems or built into them? And they might then go, well, I'm not paying that much because look, I've got the best defenses, I've got the best people, and if we do, we can ring fence it really quickly. It's back to whatever, I don't know. No one else knows. I think that's the point.
Well, I think that, we've talked about this before. The cyber is seen by a lot of brokers have talked about this, saying it's a cultural problem as much as it is a sort of an outside bad agents problem. So that's it. So I just got the number. Actually, I was quoting it slightly wrong. It's 12 billion to 60 billion. So I see what they've done. They've just multiplied it by 5.
Right.
Which is standard statistical practice. If you want to put a growth number, just multiply it by 5.
Right. Okay. Good.
There you go. So it's probably meaningless unless John Neal wants to come on and do the show next week.
Yeah. You have to be quick though, because I'm not going to be here.
But the number says 12 billion to 60 billion over the next 5 to 10 years. Well, hang on. That's 5 to 10 years is a long way. I'm just saying the numbers don't. I think you need to be more precise about numbers, please, Mr. Neal.
Definitely. Thanks, Ben. Right. So let me go back to a story that I picked up actually this morning. I saw it on LinkedIn. Helene Stanway had posted this press release about a collaboration between Willis Towers Watson, WTW, whatever they're called now, and Liberty Specialty Markets, Markel. So basically, from the press release, it sounds like they're developing a new platform. And the interesting thing that I think the thing that piqued Helene's interest was the kind of end goal of being able to have end-to-end operations. So if you look at all the kind of technology solutions, either that are on the market or a part of the CDR, there's still a tension there on how you get everything linked up from start to finish without having any kind of manual process in between. Some of that is around standardization, some of it's data quality, some of it's about legacy, and some of it's about bloody mindedness. But so I kept reading to find out how this was going to be different. I wasn't quite sure, but anyway, it sounds like it's a platform. It's going to use data standards to try and iron out some of those issues, and this is a pilot between those two companies, Markel and Liberty. So, and then you keep on reading. There's a couple of quotes there from Liberty Special Markets and Markel, both kind of reference it to a platform. So, I think in the post that Helene was saying, they were saying, is this more than just a platform? Is there going to be some kind of more integrated, I don't know, different approach? I don't know. It's very difficult to tell from this press release if it is just another platform to add to the mix, which isn't a bad thing, by the way. We've talked about bringing in competition in this space in order to drive innovation and drive down cost and speed up the delivery of these technology platforms. So I think it's a good thing. I'm just wondering if it's any different to anything else we've seen.
So I mean, it doesn't tell you a lot, does it? This, to be honest,
No.
And but it's clearly a big deal for them. So what's different? One it is definitely obviously some sort of collaboration. There's some sort of agreement has been signed around data, and I assume they're talking about international standards being Accord standards or something similar. So I guess, but aside from the technology, we know the technology can be done. Trading, is not that hard necessarily. It's somewhat complex, but it's not definitely something that can't be done. Has it been done through some kind of low code type of operation so it can be, because there's no actual supplier mentioned here in terms of the tech side of things. So they're keeping a lot of that under wraps in this press release. And then everything else is rather generic. But I think yours and my suspicion is it's more about the agreement over who has the access to the data, and therefore the collaborative element of it will be that the brokers will be happy to put the data in as long as they get something out of the other end of it. Because this has been quite a barrier, which we said it would be, which is that if a broker's stuffing all the data and the carrier gets it, then the broker wants it back at some point or wants to see some of it. And the carrier says often, no, we can't have that because we want to keep it ourselves. So it may be that this is more about a data agreement rather than the platform itself. And if that's the case, that could be a breakthrough because it could be a model that works right across the market. And it would break. It could break over things like PPL and white space to some extent if those are just technology offerings without. Arguably, PPL is more used, but the challenge is to get buy-in, isn't it? And the buy-in isn't a technology buy-in; it's a buy-in around how does this integrate and how do we use the data, etc. So I think it's probably feels to me like it's reading between the lines. It's an agreement of some kind to work together on this.
So that's definitely one to watch. And
we'll try and find out, see if they want to be more open. I'll ask.
Yeah, we will ask, and I'll see if they want to come to Tintech London Market because that's being launched next week, and we've got a whole bunch of innovative talks on the innovation stage there. So watch this space is kind of the end of that story, I think. Right. Let's get on to the important news. As you can tell, I'm wearing my summer outfit, Ben, because it is the start of the Summer World Cup. I've made you this. And that goes on a bit.
That's where you're playing next week, isn't it? In Seville.
Yeah, in Seville. I'll be playing football in Seville. It's the start of the Summer World Cup this winter, which is very hard to get into for a number of reasons, but mainly because it's just the wrong time of the year. And in a pretty awkward place for some of the pundits and David Beckham and I do feel a bit for the players. I mean, they're just playing football. They get told to go to a place and then they get put on the spot about should they be playing Iran because they're supporting a war with Ukraine. You kind of going, it's nothing to do with it.
So just before the football, the thing about any Olympic or World Cup event is it's always prefaced by it's going to be a disaster. That is just the whole news story, either because stadia are not ready, because of ethical issues over workforce, all this, always this. But I would say that there are two things that really matter to tournaments like this. One thing that really matters, and I think it's fans and accessibility. Well, that's two things: fans and accessibility. Feel like the old Monty Python. Right. Feel like the Monty Python. There are only three things: the Spanish Inquisition. And anyway, the those two things seem to me to be very difficult. I.e., there are very few fans, and the accessibility is extremely difficult for a lot of the places, and it's hot and it's expensive, and it's not that welcoming a place in lots of ways. I mean, that is not to say that it's. I'm not saying that in a cultural sense, because it could be, but I'm saying it in a place that it is quite a hostile. Those Middle Eastern countries are quite hostile environments in terms of the weather and the temperature and the sort of ecosystem. You don't find many Earls type sandwich shops in those places. You know, they're pre-built and so on. So I think it's going to be a bit flat, and that's a problem for anybody. You know, wherever you're watching, it's just a bit. It's not the same. It's a bit like the Olympics in Japan without the fans. I thought that was very flat.
Yeah, I haven't seen any reports about the ticket sales and if they've had trouble selling them, or there's been none of that, has there? Or whether they've sold out. You would have thought that would have been a story.
They've got those false fans, haven't they? That they say aren't false fans, who sing outside the hotels when the players arrive.
Oh yeah.
But they can't sing the songs, so they're obviously false fans.
Yeah.
They just sort of mumble them.
That's it. So we'll see.
Yeah, I don't know. It's going to be a bit weird. Yeah, I don't feel massively bought into it, I must say.
No, I'm not. I obviously, I'll be watching it. But there we are. So let's get on to our predictions then, Ben. What do you think for England? I've actually put a bet on that they're going to go out in the group stage. It was good odds.
Yeah, they'll lose to Iran because we don't like Iran at the moment for lots of reasons, and we should beat them, and that's a big ticket to get through, isn't it? If they've got Iran out of the way, so you could be onto a good one there. I think they'll probably go a bit further. Although we are arriving at the fag end of our season with a lot of injuries and tired players, so it doesn't. Right in the middle of our season. Sorry, not the fag end, but the middle of it, and it's not ideal, probably. I think we'll do all right. I don't think we'll win. I think it's going to be what I've got in the office sweepstake, which is I've got Brazil. I've got Brazil and France, I think.
They're pretty good.
And maybe, and I think I've got Argentina as well. But Brazil's favourite, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. And then I think Argentina's next. I put a couple of quid on Croatia.
Yeah. Okay.
Just because I just thought, hang on, they always overperform, and so they probably won't now. So if anybody's looking for betting tips, there's two you can avoid.
Well, I don't know. Yeah, Croatia are good. They do perform well, and they're good, solid professional side. So yeah, they'll be all right.
So we are.
But it's just they're saying it's 30 degrees. It's very hot. That's going to play out, and some of them are playing these games in the middle of the day.
Yeah, that is gonna be a massive.
It's nuts.
It's like 30. Even at 10 o'clock midnight, it's still 34. I mean, it's oppressive, isn't it?
Gravel in that weather would be hard.
Yeah, it must be. It also must be. I was trying to think about this. If I was a player, you don't want to be sat in a 20-degree air-conditioned hotel room all day, and then you walk outside and go, "Damn it, it's 15 degrees hotter."
Well, I don't understand why they haven't got air-conditioned stadia for such a rich place. Because I've been to an air-conditioned stadium in Singapore. I went to watch Sevens rugby, and obviously Singapore's very humid, very hot, same temperature all year round. And I was invited to it, and I said, "Oh, are they going to play in this?" And they said, "Oh, it's because it's an air-conditioned stadium." And it is. It's an open stadium, but it's got aircon.
Weird.
And it's cool in there. It's like a cool temperature. It is. It's very weird, but it obviously you sort of have to do that. But they haven't done that on this, it seems. So
right.
Why not? With all that money.
Yeah. There we are. So we'll be watching that. Well, I'll be watching that. Well, I'll watch a bit of it on Sunday. I'm intrigued by the whole thing more than anything.
Yeah. Yeah, the England
Not-
game's on Monday, isn't it? The
Yeah.
England game. Yeah.
lunchtime, so you can watch that in the pub.
Yeah.
Good. Right. Anything else, Ben? What else are you doing this weekend apart from football? If you're doing that,
Well, I'm taking my son to football tomorrow very early, quite a long way away, which is annoying. That's it, really. Nothing else. Might go for a long walk on Sunday. The weather's not too bad. And then I'm back into work. It's such a busy time of year. It's really full on at the moment, as I guess it is for you.
yes, it is. Yeah, it's that's what I think it feels like, because the whole thing about the Summer World Cup is like you're kind of winding down, looking forward to going on a holiday, and then you've got the added bonus of watching football for 8 hours a day. Yeah, it's a bit weird. Yeah, I've got events next week. As I said, I've got Tintet London Market coming up in February, more of which we will preview towards the end of the year into next year. And yeah, and as you say, I've been called up to play in Seville.
Yeah.
Or
At last.
At last, yeah.
After all these years, yeah.
I'll be playing football next week, so I won't be here. We might do a pre-record. We might do an OB.
We might do an OB. Yeah, true. Yeah, that's on the cards if we can get the licenses sorted.
Yes, that's it. Anyway, we'll let you know. If we don't see you next week, we'll be back the following. Have a good week, everybody. Weekend, everybody.
Have a good weekend and week. See you guys.
Yes. Bye.
Bye.